It's a Sal Pal Friday. Sal Paolantonio joins me with a look at the Eagles and the Bears and other things happening around the league. Sal, I'll get your reaction here because some breaking news that is local ties. Greg Roman from our area fired today by the Bills. You a little surprised by that?
Yeah. I don't think Greg Roman gave up 37 points to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, it's. I guess in this league you want to try not to score if you're the offensive coordinator, and the defense should give up more points. You keep your job. We're a little shocked around here to see that, but apparently there's some friction between him and Ryan. I mean, I don't know what was going on there, but a little surprising at this stage that he's the fall guy.
I am blown away by it that he would be the guy blamed for that loss last night, or that there'd be any issues on the offensive side of the ball. I mean. Sammy Watkins is not 100%. LaShawn McCoy is certainly not the player he was. Tyrod Taylor is still really an unproven commodity in the National Football League. And every place that Rob Ryan has gone in the last 3 or 4 years, they've set a record for being the worst defense in the NFL.
Unreal.
So they let Ryan Fitzpatrick look like Joe Montana last night on Thursday Night Football. I wouldn't blame Greg Roman for that. No way, shape, or form. I don't see how you can do that. That's a real mental gymnastics if you're going to do that.
Sal, we'll dive into, I know you've been doing a lot of reporting on the Eagles and Bears, and obviously Wentz has been everywhere. The president's talking to him. His jersey's #1. How is he handling it this week with all this attention? This is a big jump, going from where he was, the coverage that he got at that level to what he's getting this week.
Yeah, I'm not going to say to you it's not a problem because we just don't know, Mike. We just don't know. I've been around him since the day he was drafted. Literally was there day one, all through the OTAs and spring practices and training camp. And I simply have not seen a hiccup at all. I was talking to Malcolm Jenkins yesterday, and Jenkins said to me, listen, the kid's the first one here every day. He's one of the last to leave every day. He asks the right questions. He's doing the right thing. And I asked Jason Kelsey, how are you managing all the noise around him? He said, listen, the guy's from North Dakota State, okay? He's got a work ethic that's off the charts. So, we couldn't be happier. So I'm based on my observations, Mike, and my conversations with these players. These are senior players in the locker room. What they have witnessed and what I have witnessed is that he is handling it perfectly. However, we haven't had adversity yet. We haven't really had a real opponent yet. I think I might have gone on last week and said the Cleveland Browns game was the 5th preseason game, and you kind of laughed at me. The Bears will be a different animal, to complete the metaphor. They'll be a completely different team in Chicago. And the record of Jay Cutler versus Jim Schwartz. I had it on SportsCenter yesterday. You want me to give it to your listeners?
Love to hear it.
Okay. If you take the 10-game sample of Jay Cutler against Jim Schwartz when Schwartz was the Lions head coach, same division, Jay Cutler was 7-3 versus Schwartz. 7-3. And that defense in Detroit had some pretty superior talent. You could make an objective argument that defense in Detroit had better talent overall than this Eagles defense, with the exception of probably Fletcher Cox and Malcolm Jenkins.
That's a great stat.
7-3, but Mike, there's more. With 15 touchdown passes and only 5 interceptions. And what's really interesting is if you dig deeper into the matchup, Cutler versus Schwartz, in those 10 games, Schwartz's defense sacked Cutler 28 times. So it's not like they didn't get to him. They averaged 2.8 sacks per game against Cutler. And they still could not beat him more than 30% of the time.
That it's
and the reason is very simple. The reason is very simple. Schwartz does not blitz nearly enough.
Right.
That's the problem.
And Cutler's a guy who, when you pressure him, he makes mistakes, but he's pretty good when he has time.
And he also has a strong arm. and he also knows how to deliver the ball from the pocket with that strong arm. RG3 doesn't have that. He has a strong arm, but he doesn't know how to deliver the ball from the pocket. Now, they only blitzed RG3 twice, 2 times on Sunday. That was the fewest number of blitzes of any of the 32 teams on week 1.
Wow.
Fewest. Yep. 2. So they're going to have to bring pressure on Cutler. And with Leotis McKelvin probably out, looks like it's not going to happen for him. You know, it is only Friday, and they have till Monday night, so you have to hedge your bets. But if they're shorthanded in the secondary, it's going to be an issue. I think this is a bad matchup for the Eagles. I really do, in a lot of ways.
And the Bears, as you mentioned with Cutler, they got one of the strengths of this team is Jeffrey 6'3", White, who's struggling a little bit, but he's also 6'3", and then of course Royal, very steady in the slot there, and the kid Langford, filled in nice for Forte. They got some weapons on that offensive side of the ball.
And Zach Miller, the tight end. Now the Eagles shut down Gary Barnidge last week. The Eagles have proven to be a pretty good team against tight ends. But Zach Miller's not a bad tight end. So from an offensive standpoint, I think this is a bad matchup for the Eagles. But the Bears' defense is terrible. They had a lot of turnover in the offseason. They're not a very good defense. I'm not crazy about the way Vic Fangio runs defenses. I think he's too loosey-goosey. He allows you to make plays. And you can get lucky against him. So I think this is a game where both teams, will have some opportunities offensively.
Sal Pal Fridays here, brought to you by Van Dodge. Sal, how much of a loss will Ertz be to that offense? I thought he made 2 plays in that game that really changed the game. The 4th down catch and the one-handed grab that extended that first drive. Who knows what happens in that game if he doesn't make those plays?
And he played with a dislocated rib for most of the game.
3 quarters, wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and it could have punctured his lung and killed him.
That is a really scary thought. And the fact that I'm assuming he's not going to play.
Mike, let me repeat that. It could have punctured his lung and killed him. Not ended his career, not ended his season. It could have killed him. So that was a courageous thing, no question. I think he will be missed. I see this as a big Brent Selleck game.
Really?
Big. Yes, I do. I think that the Bears will do everything they can to try to get into Carson Wentz's kitchen. And I think that this is a game where Selleck will play a role not only as a blocker, but as a short yardage pass catcher and a 3rd down option that'll be very important. I see this as a Selleck-Sproles football game.
That's interesting because I was going to follow up with you, Sal, about the play of the wideouts. I mean, Matthews, the 7 catches, nice catch. He did have the drop. Aguilar, criticized a lot, made a nice play, and got open on Joe Hayden on that touchdown pass and really made a nice catch. Are we turning the corner with those guys, or do you need to see a lot more?
Yeah, I think. Don't you think, Mike? It's too early. It's too early to tell. Jordan Matthews had the drop in the first drive.
First play. First play, right?
Yeah, first play. And he was targeted 14 times. So I think Wentz will spread the ball out. But this game is about one thing and one thing only for the Eagles offensively. They have to do a better job protecting Carson Wentz. If I could give one big criticism coming off a very inspiring win on Sunday, it is. And I talked to Jason Kelsey in the locker room yesterday about it. And, Mike, he told me, listen, we had communications breakdowns that we can't afford to have go week to week, but we get the kid killed. They understand that, and it's supposed to happen week 1, right, with a rookie quarterback.
Sure.
You're not going to have effortless communication, but they got to get it ironed out. Even Carson Wentz at his press conference yesterday talked about it. They had protection breakdowns that were the direct result of communication issues. And if you want me to draw a straight line to what they're talking about, I'll tell you what it is. They didn't say it, but it's Kelsey and Wentz specifically need to get on the same page. communications-wise and setting the protection. There were times when Wentz was brilliant at it, but there were other times where he was exposed and hit.
Sal Pal Friday with us here, Sal Paolantonio. Sal, last week you said something that really, perked my ears, and you said Pederson was the right guy at the right time for this team. I thought he had a great game plan last week. I thought he had a really smart game plan for having a rookie quarterback. Didn't ask him to do too much, but put a little bit more on his plate when he needed to. And as he kept doing some things, he gave him a little more. He didn't overload him, but he didn't vanilla it too much.
Well, here's how he was smart. One, he moved the pocket. He allowed Wentz to move his body a little bit and throw on the run. Subtle movements. He likes to throw on the run, so that gave him some confidence. Two, they ran the football early and often in the game. That calmed things down, give them some balance, some equilibrium on offense. And three, the really smartest thing that Pederson did was he played the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I'll tell you, here's one thing. As much as a lot of people have said that about, they only played the Browns, I thought, okay, there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league, and you can attest to this, Sal. You watch a lot of tape that can make throws. He made some throws, but it's between the ears that separates these guys, and I was really impressed with his poise and ability to see some things that the guys who have a lot of talent and can make some big throws, that's what separates these guys. And I thought he really did a good job of seeing some things that rookie quarterbacks who only have 2 quarters of preseason action typically make mistakes in.
Yeah, and what was the big question mark going into the game? Could he make the jump from FCS, from North Dakota State to the NFL? Okay, so that box is checked.
You asked a question last week. Was he going to be reckless? Was he going to try to do too much because of the inexperience? And we didn't see that, right?
No, we didn't. We saw it in the preseason game in that first game. So he obviously took it to heart and learned.
Sal Paolantonio here, Sal Pal Fridays. All right, Sal, Monday night, we know it's on the road. Rookie quarterback. Bears, not a great defense. You talked about the problems on offense. Does Philadelphia, can they match it? Can they get a win on the road this Monday night?
It's the greatest unknown. I don't know. I would say this. The Eagles can win the game. I am predicting that they will win the game. And I think they will win somewhere around 20-16 or 24-20, somewhere in that ballpark. I think the offenses will have a lot of opportunities, but I don't think they'll cash in on a whole lot of opportunities. It'll be a mistake-filled game. It'll be one of those games that will be decided, I think, again, by field position. The importance of Darren Sproles and Donnie Jones can't be overstated, in my view. And their role against Cleveland was huge in flipping the field. It'll be a field position game, and I think the Eagles have an opportunity to win it. And if they come back here, oh my gosh, 2-0, I think the world will cease turning on its axis in South Philadelphia. I really do.
I tend to agree with you.
Here's the funniest thing now. I've been doing this now 22 years. This is my 22nd season at ESPN, right? I got a call yesterday from my boss, and he said, listen, we want you to be ready live on Tuesday morning. I don't cover the game because, we have our own Monday Night Football crew. Lisa Saltis is there with Sean McDonough and John Gruden, and that's a different operation that I'm involved in. I'm involved in the sports news gathering on SportsCenter side. So he says, we want you to be ready to be live on the first live SportsCenter, 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning if the Eagles win. We want to get a feel for the city. That's how much Bristol, Connecticut, the worldwide leaders into – I've never been asked to do that before after a Monday night game. Never. 22 years in.
Wow. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your first game was at Soldier Field, Eagles-Bears. Did you tell me that last year?
Yeah. First game was Fog Bowl.
Fog Bowl. I remember correctly. I'm getting older, Sal, but I do remember things.
December 31st, 1988. If the fog doesn't roll in, I think Randall Cunningham wins that game.
I tend to agree with you there as well. Sal Pal Friday here on the Sports Best. Sal, enjoy the football. Enjoy the weekend. We look forward to it again next week, pal.
Okay, you got it. Thanks a lot, Mike. Great job.
You got it. Sal Pal Fridays here on the Sports Bash.